Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This idea kind of just popped into my head. I'm just a little bit curious. So this isn't really, I don't know, it might not be informative at all, who knows. But I'm just curious to see the breakdown of the St Kilda playing list that Ross Lyon has inherited. Obviously, we've got the draft and things might change, but in terms of the current state of the list, I just wanted to look at kind of the experience, the age demographic, and kind of where we differ to this year's two grand final teams in Geelong and Sydney, both polar opposites in terms of what's made them successful. Sydney youth, Geelong the experienced heads of the team, which is pretty much the entire team, the oldest team in the comp. Sydney, one of the youngest in the comp. So I've got Draft Guru on the screen at the moment, so I'll probably just screenshot and put it up. You can see what I'm looking at. It's got experience, age, goals, Brownlow votes based on sort of the career averages. So I thought it'd be good to look at St Kilda, and this is all new to me. I haven't looked at these before, and see how we differ from Sydney and Geelong. So this is the Saints one. I'm looking at it right now. This is our current 2023 playing list. I don't think there's anything here that's going to skew it. It's got Zane Cordy in there. And then I think pretty much everyone else that we've got. Yeah, so it's up to date, looks like. In terms of experience, we are dead in the middle. 73.7 games, ranked 10th. It says for the year, but that's just in terms of averages. So you've got Port Adelaide. So top is obviously Geelong. That's kind of what we expected in the review findings. They did mention we're kind of middle tier in terms of age, in terms of experience. Although I think you'll find when we look at Sydney, it's a bit different. They're younger, but they're more experienced. So that kind of shows the difference in approach in that they're playing their youngsters a lot earlier. They've probably got more youngsters to play, first of all. And we haven't really drafted that many lately, apart from obviously last year. That was a good haul, and we played, majority of them played over 10 games, which was good. Age, middle of the road again, 25.2, ranked 10th. So we're not on the older end, like a lot of media outlets have said, last year, that it's kind of, in the next couple of years, it's make or break, but it's not really. We're right in that sweet spot where we can go either way. We can either trim the fat and go a bit younger and then come back, or we can add a bit more experience, or we can just stay with what we've got and the average age will just gradually go up as the boys get older, but more maturity hopefully means more experience on the field and a bigger improvement. And that age bracket, I think, is probably in the sweet spot for a team like a Ross Lyon would want. We're not too young that he can't come in and exert his sort of experience and be a bit more of an intimidating sort of figure in the footy club. 25, there's a lot of mature heads in the group. There's a lot of players that have been around for a while, and then there's a little bit of youth coming through as well, but obviously we want more of that. But I think that's a good age bracket for a Ross Lyon sort of driven team. Goals, this is, not great. Ranked 10th again. 37.6 career average goals each player. Not great. We don't really have that many big name goal kickers. Obviously, Tim Member is probably number one, 257. You got, who else is there? Who's next? Dan Butler, Jack Billings, Max King's right there as well already. And then you've got Jade Gresham. So there's only one player that's kicked over 200 goals in their career on our list. You factor in Sydney and Geelong, they've got a lot of goal kickers. Obviously, Sydney's got the current biggest one in a while in Lance Franklin, over 1,000 goals. And then you've got Geelong, who have got a good spread of players. Obviously, Tom Hawkins, Jeremy Cameron, these sort of guys that have kicked hundreds and hundreds of goals in their careers. So that's that. And then in terms of Brownlow votes, not great at all. We're right near the bottom. North, Gold Coast, and Hawthorn are bottom there. And Hawthorn obviously going very, very inexperienced this year. Gold Coast to Gold Coast, North and North, and then you got us. That's not great. We're averaging 8 votes per player for the 2023 list at the moment, ranked 15th. So that just shows that I guess each player's, they don't have that many games where they're just top notch. They're good, they're okay, but they're not absolute stars. And then you look on the top tier, who's it going to be? Richmond, and then you've got Geelong. So you've got the two very, very experienced outfits there. And for us, obviously, we're not that experienced, but we're also not that inexperienced. So you'd like to think that hopefully that number will go up in the next couple of years if we can sort our shit out. So that is kind of the breakdown. I guess that just further concretes that we are a bit of a middle-of-the-road club at the moment. But that means that if I was Ross Lyon and I was looking at these numbers, I'd be like, opportunity. There is so much opportunity to grow. We're middle of the road in almost every aspect. And then Brownlow votes, that's not really that relevant. That'll just get better once the other things get better. Once we start winning games, Brownlow votes will go up, so that's kind of just it goes hand in hand. So that's St Kilda. In terms of Sydney, we'll just go over the two grand final teams. Experience 80 compared to our 73. Age 24.9 compared to our 25.2. They're lower. Their goals per player is obviously skewed because they've got Lance Franklin, but it is 66.1. That's 30 goals more per player than St Kilda. And then Brownlow votes, already they're averaging 13.7. That's ranked 7th in the comp with one of the youngest groups in the comp. So that just shows, that justifies, all of the talk about Sydney and their youngsters and how good some of them are. Obviously, Chad Warner's right up there as one of the best. It backs it because they're delivering, they've made a grand final, and they're getting a lot of Brownlow votes, and they're just well balanced across the board. And then conversely, but equally as impressive, you've got Geelong. Experience 104 games on average per player. Not surprising. Average age, highest at the comp. Not surprising. 26.4 goals. First, number one in the comp. Average 78.7 career goals. Obviously, they've got Jeremy Cameron 500. Isaac Smith's almost got 200. Mitch Duncan's almost got 200. Tom Hawkins is on nearly 750. Patrick Dangerfield, I forgot about him, is over 300. They've got a good spread of goal kickers there. And then they're number two for Brownlow votes, 17.3 per player. Obviously, they've got a number of premiership players. They've got Dangerfield, who's Brownlow medalist. So they've got a bunch of pretty solid players there that'll get votes, especially when they've been performing the way they've been performing for the last bloody 20 years. So that shows where we're at. Obviously, we're middle of the road. There's still a lot of opportunity for Ross Lyon to come in and make a lot of changes that will hopefully see us go up the scale on, experience will just naturally go up, and then hopefully the rest will come. In terms of player breakdowns, I might do a separate video on that to talk about sort of, I guess, where the list overall is at, in terms of star power versus up and coming versus players that are probably not going to get that many opportunities next year. Although I could throw it to the audience. That's an interesting one. In terms of the list, guys, who do you think is a player that maybe played a lot of games this year that might not get that many look-ins next year because Ross Lyon's going to obviously have a different opinion on these players compared to what Rats did? So someone like a Seb Ross, a lot of people think that Seb, he had a good run this year under, a Brett Ratton-led team, but is Ross Lyon going to give him the same sort of love? I don't know. Same goes for someone like a Hunter Clark, Jack Billings as well. When he's fit, is he going to get picked in a Ross Lyon team, or is Ross going to really make him earn it? I'd be very, very curious to hear your thoughts. But that's kind of the list breakdown. We're middle of the road. A lot of improvement, hopefully to come. This doesn't really make me worry. If our age was a bit higher, I would be a bit worried. But in terms of experience, we're still middle. That means that there's a lot of room to grow. We're not anywhere near the most experienced teams in the comp. You look at them, they're Melbourne, Richmond, Geelong, Brisbane, West Coast is a bit of a worry considering how badly they've been. Collingwood, and they talk about Collingwood being a fairly young team. Sydney as well is more experienced in terms of games. So are the Dogs, Port Adelaide. Only teams that are younger are the teams that have finished kind of lower on the ladder this year. And Hawthorn being, right at the bottom. So you can just see in terms of Sydney and Geelong, the proof there is that you can't focus on one type of demographic more than the other. Sydney are doing it with youth. Geelong are doing it with experience. We're right in the middle of both. I think our list isn't as badly balanced as what people think. I think that there's a lot to work with for Ross. So fingers crossed. I think preseason training will start next week. We'll hear more from him and more from the players. And then obviously the draft a couple of weeks later. So I'll leave it there, guys. Hopefully enjoy this video. It's kind of just an ad hoc one. I wasn't really planning on doing a video today, but I just was curious about this sort of stuff. And I know that there are some nerds, stats nerds that like looking at these numbers and breaking them down. So if you got any questions on this or any other notes that you want to put to this, put them in the comments. Most importantly, please like and subscribe, and let's get to 5,000 subs before next season. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for your support, for all the videos that come out, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care, enjoy the rest of your night, and go Saints.